Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles. A Course in Right Perception, A Course in Right Thinking, A Course in Right Perception, A Course in Right Thinking, A Course in the Right Answer. These are all definitions that the Course in Miracles gives for the term miracle. And we're going to be covering trust today. We're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about trust from the standpoint of the Course in Miracles, because trust is a biggie. That's one of the things that I hear people talk about all the time. I have problems trusting people. And so we're going to talk about how real trust operates, the kind that we should be doing. So just remember only this, and I know you have no idea what I'm about to say at all. You need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you might actively resist. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas may seem to be quite startling. You're not being asked to judge the ideas at all. It's their use that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. So we're going to be in the Manual for Teachers. We're going to be on page 9. The section is called, What are the Characteristics of God's Teachers? What is the characteristic of somebody that's going to demonstrate the truth? What is the characteristics of somebody that's going to be a demonstrator of love? So what is one of the first things that we need to recognize? We need to recognize that the surface traits of a teacher of God are not at all alike. So a teacher of love, a teacher of God, the Course says they don't look alike to the body's eyes. To my eyes, none of you all look alike. A teacher of God come from vastly different backgrounds. So don't you think we come from vastly different backgrounds? Then it says, and we have vastly different experiences of the world. So the Course says that our experience of the world varies greatly, and also that we have very distinct superficial personalities. So we all have very distinct superficial personalities. So far, we seem to be passing the traits of a demonstrator of love. Then it says, nor at the beginning stages of your functioning as teachers of God have you as yet acquired the deeper characteristics that will establish you as a teacher of God. So at the beginning, you don't have any of the deeper characteristics that really establishes you as a teacher of love. Okay, so far, everything is right. It's right on. I don't have the deeper characteristics. Then it says, God gives special gifts to God's teachers because God's teachers have a special role in God's plan for atonement, which is the undoing of guilt, the undoing of error, the undoing of separation. So the Course is telling me I have a special role to play, and you have a special role to play in the plan of the undoing of separation and anger and fear and guilt and separation and anger and guilt and fear and separation. So you have a special role to play. One of the things after doing the Course for 40 years and watching people struggle and be afraid and wondering how they're going to make it, sometimes, it's really a trip, because one of the things that I'm noticing is that we make things so much harder on ourselves than it needs to be, because we want to establish a relationship with God, that we want to establish a relationship with Source, and that a vast majority of people are atheists, which means they think they are alone and they have to do everything on their own. And their belief in God is more like something they were taught as a child that they should believe in, more so than they actually believe. So you'll talk to most people and you'll say, do you believe in God or higher power? Almost everybody says yes. And then you see them busy trying to figure out how they're going to make everything happen in their life. Whether it's a relationship with somebody, or they want more money, or they want more fun, or they don't realize the mere fact that they are always feeling like they have to do it on their own and figure it out on their own means you do not believe in God. You do not believe in a higher power, because the Course says one of the characteristics that will happen is that if you really believe in a higher power, then you would be following the direction of that higher power. You would be adequate to do exactly what it's telling you to do. and you wouldn't have any obstacles impeding your way. So I'm around watching myself and watching everybody around me absolutely prove to me all the time that they don't really have a deep belief in God or higher power, but they're thinking that they do because they're busy trying to figure out what's going to happen. Like, if I'm in a situation and it doesn't go the way that I want it to go, and I've given to Spirit, told Spirit to make the decision for me about it, and the thing didn't happen or it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, well, if I really had faith in what I'm studying, then I would go, well, God did decide. God decided that I wouldn't have that relationship, that person, that job, or that circumstance. Rather than do what I normally would do, which is try to figure out how to make it happen and try to get the person to do what I wanted them to do and get the situation. So the Course is saying that the reason why we're struggling is that we're not fulfilling our role, we're not fulfilling our function, and that for a while you'll be temporarily special. So all of us are going to be temporarily special, which means it's going to look like we are all different and we all have unique qualities. Then the Course says, let me go, we're on page 9 in the Manual for Teachers, page 9, what are the characteristics of God's teacher? And so the Course says that you're going to have special gifts. Where these special gifts are coming from? He said they're going to be born in the holy relationship toward which the teaching, learning situation is geared. So in your loving relationships, you're going to have special gifts that are going to be born, that a holy relationship, the Course says, is a teaching, learning situation. So whenever you're in a relationship, you're in a teaching, learning situation. All of your relationships are teaching, learning situations. Some people are engaged and they're getting ready to absolutely, permanently, they think, try to commit themselves to a teaching, learning situation. That's really what's happening. You're going, I have decided and I'm committed to maybe the rest of my life teaching and learning with you. That's what everybody is saying who gets in a relationship. And teaching and learning situations, he says that becomes characteristic of all teachers who have advanced in their own learning. In this respect, advanced teachers are all alike. An advanced teacher knows that every relationship is a teaching, learning situation. So whatever relationship you're in right now is a teaching, learning situation. Whether it's a relationship with your family or your relatives or your friends or even strangers, what kind of relationship are you in? You're in a teaching, learning situation. So have you ever been in a relationship? You are and have been in a teaching, learning situation. So what is it that's temporary about us? Well, the next paragraph says, all differences among the sons of God are temporary. So temporarily, while we're in time, we're going to look like we're different with our own unique qualities, with a special role to play, a special divine plan to play, and we're going to act out that plan in relationships. It's going to be in relationships that you act out your role. Now I get excited about the opportunity to remind people that they're innocent and they deserve love when they're upset. It's been kind of fun. It's like when I hear people putting themselves down or judging themselves, now I go, how many ways can I tell this person that they are innocent and that they deserve to be loved? Because what's missing is someone who's repeating the truth back to them on a regular basis, because until you wake up to who you really are, you usually choose partners who don't give you the kind of appreciation that you think you deserve, except at the very beginning, because they have to do it at the very beginning for you to get into the relationship so that you'll learn your lesson. If it started out crappy, you never would get in it. So everybody's got to act like they're saying in love at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the cheese in the trap. Right, is that promise that this is the one that's going to really make me happy and make me feel valued and loved and appreciated. So in the beginning of a relationship, you give people a preview of coming attractions. In the beginning of the relationship, you show them how you all are going to be when you get your act together and let go of all your blocks. So in the beginning, everybody's giving each other unconditional love. Nothing that you do I'm not really upset about, or we can work through it, and I'm still telling you how wonderful you are. And so that's the kind of person I'm going to be after I get past my programming and my challenges and my blocks that's going to come up in this relationship that's a teaching, learning relationship, because I'm with you. Okay, so just be aware of that, right? But you have a special gift, And it says, now let me tell you what the advanced teachers of love have the following characteristics. So what are the following characteristics that I'm looking, like people are always going, what they're looking for in another person. And they'll usually always pick out just physical worldly stuff. I'm looking for them to have a good job. I'm looking for them to have a certain amount of money. I'm looking for their body to be a certain way. I'm looking for their age to be a certain way. Most of the time, you ask people what they're looking for in a relationship, they'll say everything but their consciousness and their spirituality and their purpose. You almost never hear that. And then when you say that to them, they'll usually go, "Oh yeah, of course I want them to be spiritual. Oh, of course I want." You didn't say that. That's not what you said. You said the height you wanted them to be. You said the education you wanted them to have. You said something about their body you wanted, but you didn't mention their mind. And I don't know how to break it to you, but that's what you're going to be dealing with. Their mind, the way they think, what they believe, right? So the course is telling us that the advanced characteristics of a teacher of God starts out with trust. So if I'm going to be in a relationship with you, the first thing that we need to have is trust. Don't tell me you love me and you do not trust me. If you do not trust me, you do not love me. Don't tell me you don't trust me, but you're in love with me and you love me. If you don't trust the person, you don't love that person. If you don't trust that person, you don't love that person. If you don't trust that person, you don't love that person. How can I tell I don't trust that person? I'm afraid of that person. I have doubt when it comes to that person. I have insecurity when it comes to that person. So trust is the foundation on which a teacher of God's ability to fulfill their function rests. So if I'm going to be a demonstrator of love, what is the first thing that I need as a foundation? Trust. On every level. And I like to use relationships. If I trust that the Holy Spirit knows exactly who I should be in a relationship with, then I'm not sweating relationships. Because I know that I'm going to be sent the right friendship and the right relationship if I trust in spirit. Now, if I feel like I've got to figure out how to manipulate that into being, I am not experiencing trust. I'm going to try to get them, and I try to get them through somehow making something about me appealing and seductive enough for them to want me. That is not trust. That's manipulation. Or what we call seduction. I think seduction is great the once I know it's going to work. So I work it back from the other end. I already know you like me and you really want to connect with me and you really, really appreciate me and you're really, really into me. Then we'll go through the dance. But I'm not going to do the dance not knowing how it's going to turn out. Does that make sense? Right. Then you can play the dance of seduction and courtship and all of that stuff. If you know the person and you is sent by spirit, and somebody that's sent by spirit is going to find you, as the course would say we feel about God, irresistibly attractive. You are irresistible. You don't have to try to push them into anything. They're ready to leap. Right? So I know who likes me and who don't. I know who wants me and who doesn't. But I know that perception is the result of learning. So when you say you're perceiving, does that mean that you're seeing what you learn to see? You're seeing what you learn to see. Perception is learning. So cause and effect are never separated. I like that. What is the effect that's happening in your life right now? You caused it. How do you know you caused it? Because cause and effect are never separated. Wherever the effect is, the cause is right there with it. You can apply the truth to anything. Whatever the effect of your finances are right now, you're the cause of it. Whatever the effect is going on in your relationship right now, you're the cause of it. Whatever's going on with your body right now, you're the cause of it. Whatever's going on with your emotions right now, you're the cause of it. Where you live right now, you're the cause of it. The car you're driving right now, you're the cause of it. The friendships you have, why? Because the effect is never separate from the cause. So whatever you're going through, what caused it is right with you and is right now. Now, what's usually in every situation, who's usually in every situation and circumstance that you find yourself in? You, right? So that means in any effect that you're in any circumstance that you're in, however you're seeing that, since perception is learning, you're the cause of how you're seeing it. You're the cause of how you're experiencing it. And I'm not going to tiptoe around it anymore because somebody might get offended or think I'm blaming the victim. I can't. I'm delivering the message. You know, when the mailman drops off my mail, they don't stick around to explain it to me. Right? They don't try to convince me to pay attention to the letter and what the letter is saying. That's what I'm going to do. I'm a messenger. I'm delivering a message. The message is, if you're a teacher of God, if you're a teacher of love, you have trust in what? The world. What? Yeah, a teacher of God has trust in the world. Why would I have trust in the world? He said, well, because you learned that the world isn't governed by the laws the world made up. So gravity is not a law we made up. The world is not governed by the rules we make up. How can you tell a rule is a made-up rule? It doesn't apply to everyone equally. So anything that doesn't apply to everyone equally is a man-made, made-up rule. Most morality is made up. Culture is made up. So most of the time, people are feeling guilty about made-up rules that people came up with, including them, that they are breaking that rule. Like, let's just say, like when I grew up, a woman wasn't supposed to wear pants to church. So then they would feel guilty if they came to church with pants on. So they're actually feeling guilty about a made-up rule that doesn't have anything to do with God or the truth. And most rules that people are making themselves feel guilty about are not based in fact or truth at all. So if you can give me one exception to a rule, it's not a true spiritual law. If anybody's excluded, if any situation is not operating, it's the ego. It is a made-up rule. So why is it that a teacher of God has trust in the world? He says, well, it's because the world is governed by a power that's in you, but it's not a power that came from you. So we have power that's in us, but the power, we didn't create that power. So the Course in Miracles says it's a power in you that's going to keep everything in your life safe. But it's not a power that comes from you. It's a power that's in you. How does that work out in a practical way? As long as I know I'm connected to God and I'm connected to the power of love and I'm connected to the power of truth, then I can trust in the world because I know everything is going to be all right. I know everything is going to work out in divine order for me, not because I'm trusting the ego, what the world has made up. I'm trusting my relationship to Source and those rules and the spiritual laws. And so that's why you know you'll be safe in your world. And then the Course says it's through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. So I can look at you and I can feel peace with you because I know, number one, you're not going to do anything to me that I did not ask for or create. I know that love is the only thing that's real. I know that I'm not by myself and I have an invisible teacher within me called the Holy Spirit and God. I know that I can always depend on it and it's always communicating to me, but I have to learn how to communicate with it because I've learned the stupid stuff that the world has taught me based on sin and guilt and separation and culture and popularity and specialness and that I'm this body that dies one day. I got all these screwed up beliefs that I've learned from the world, and so I need to learn how to communicate with the sanity in me again, the spirit in me again, and the truth in me again. So people go, there is no God. No, you just don't know how to communicate with your higher self. So you think it doesn't exist. It's talking to you and guiding you all the time. He says in the book, but you know what? And I go, what? You're not listening. Because you're listening to yourself. He says, your ability to hear God's voice is in proportion to your willingness to listen to it. So how do you know you don't hear God's voice? Well, number one, you don't take any time to sit down and meditate and study and work on that relationship. That's how I know. How else do I know you're not working on it? Because you're still thinking that the things that are happening to you is being created by something outside of you. How else can you know you're not communicating with God? You still believe trying to change somebody else and get them to be different is how you're going to be happy. Those are just a few ways you can know. How do I know I'm not in communication with God? I'm afraid. I'm afraid. It's easy to tell when you don't really have that connection about how you feel. You can tell yourself anything. You can tell me you totally and completely believe in God, but if I hear 5 minutes later you telling me all the things you're worried about, you don't. And you're not bad. And you're not guilty. But you don't. I'm sorry, you don't. Right? So then the Course says when you experience this power, it becomes impossible for you to trust your ego again. It becomes impossible for you to trust your own petty strength again. I'm going to work, and like I always work, with the Course in Miracles book. I am especially here for students of the Course in Miracles. I am here for students of the Course in Miracles. I'm glad if other people watch my classes, but my classes are primarily for people who really want to study the Course, really want to get the blessings that it's talking about, wants to be helped by someone who has spent 40 plus years teaching and working in it so that they can save themselves some time. I'm not really interested in people who just want to get a quick fix and hear a little something because they're temporarily upset, but they don't really want to do anything to really change it. You are innocent. I love you. But I'm especially here for those who are as obsessed with this material as I am. So if you really are, I'm your man. I'm your man, right? Because what I hear more than anything else as a teacher is that the Course in Miracles is so hard to read. The Course in Miracles is so hard to study. Only if you don't really want to do it. Anything is hard that you don't really want to do. The Course in Miracles says there is nothing that you can want with all your heart. You cannot desire something completely and not create it. So if you really want it, want the truth as much as you want that car. Want the truth as much as you want that house. Want the truth as much as you want sex. Want the truth as much as you want whatever it is you say you want in the world. Want the truth as much as you want to go to a Rockets game. Want the truth as much as you want to lose 10 pounds. Want the truth as much as you want all that other stuff that you say you want. Because let me tell you, that house is not going to rescue you if you're going over a cliff. It's your relationship to Source. You know, my body does not look like it did when I was 20 years old. So for me to make me be in love be dependent on my body is a stupid thing to do at my age. It's a stupid thing to do at any age, but it's especially stupid at my age. I want to have a person be able to look straight through my body to the spirit and truth of who I am. Because I'm going to tell you, my inner self is hot. So who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given them? Who would place their faith in the shabby offerings of their ego, which is fear, when the gifts of love, which is God, are laid before them? Well, most everybody I know puts their faith in what the world has taught them, their human mind, their programming. And then the Course is saying, but I want to give you the gifts of God. I want to give you everything. I want to give you love. I want to give you peace. I want to give you safety. I don't have time for that. I got to go to the movie. And that's okay. So that's what I can talk like this because I know that no matter what I say, whether it's positive or negative, God's love is not going to change toward me at all. There's nothing I can say or do to lose God's love. So once you realize you can't lose love, that's when you're honest. Nobody's going to be honest with you in a relationship as long as they think they can lose you. No one's going to be truly honest with you in a relationship as long as they don't feel like the relationship is strong enough to survive challenges. So for you to constantly go off on a person every time they try to be honest with you and think they're going to stay honest with you is ridiculous. Because if they think that they can lose you, they're not going to tell you what they do that makes them feel like they're going to lose you if they really want to be with you. So there's no such thing as be honest with me, and then when I'm honest with you, you attack me, but then you think I'm going to still tell you everything. That's stupid. It's not true. And I use words like stupid because we don't like that word. That's why I'm using the word stupid. You know, we're too nice. Sometimes we have to say it raw for us to wake up. I'll say it again. You can say you're upset because somebody wasn't honest with you. Why did you not feel safe enough to be honest with you? What is it about you that made them feel like they couldn't be? They thought they could lose you, or you were going to attack them, or they were going to hurt your feelings. So sometimes when people are saying stuff to me that's a challenge to my ego, my inner voice is going, breathe and listen. Breathe and listen. Don't you dare attack. Especially when I start to feel defensive, because that's how you know when you're about to attack. You feel it first, and you start to feel defensive. You get that little, Okay, when you feel that coming up, shut up. Shut up. If you're talking to somebody and y'all's communication is just making you more and more angry and it's escalating, you're not going to talk yourselves out of that situation. If the more you talk to each other and you got an issue between you and both of you are escalating, do you think if it escalates to this extent, then all of a sudden y'all gonna have complete peace? No. If it's just escalating, then whatever you all are saying to each other is coming from you all's ego. It's coming from your ego. Nothing you're saying is coming from spirit, from spirit if the situation is escalating. If it's escalating, you all are more and more into the wrong voice. You're more and more into your ego. So you need to stop talking and then separate and then cool off and then focus in on some truth and then get back together when you all are both feeling a lot more peaceful. And then you all set a goal for the reason that you're even talking to each other, trying to work it out. You decide you really want to have peace and oneness with each other. And you want to get past the block of the upset that you all are having with each other. And you have to let go of your desire to be right more than your desire to be happy. Then you will get past any block that you think you have. You're welcome. Relationships do not have to be as difficult as we make them to be. They just don't. I'm sorry. They just don't. It's just a bored person trying to entertain themselves through their conflict, because other than that, ain't nothing happening in their life. So that's why most people get so caught up in their relationships and all the drama of their relationships. It's because ain't nothing else happening. So now I got the drama of how I'm going to work it out with her and all the stuff that we go through. It's like, no, it's very simple. Do y'all want to be together or not? If you do want to be together, then you have to make the decision that you're willing to go past the stuff that's going to come up in order for you to be together, and you let the love that you have keep you together because you want to go past the block together. And then you both focus in on some truth together so that you can get past what you're going through together. You're welcome. Then the next thing that you want to recognize is if you are not able to get past the block, then what you are saying is one sentence with each other. Don't forget this sentence. It's very important. This is the sentence that will guarantee that you'll never be happy in the relationship, which is, if you were different, I'd be happy. Okay, got that one? If you all are sitting up across from each other and they're constantly saying to you, if you spoke differently, if you acted differently, if you came home earlier, if you call me every day, if you text me, if you tell me everything you're doing with anybody beside me, then that's when we're going to get along. Then I'm going to tell you that you are really setting yourself up, because what are you doing? You're making your happiness and your peace dependent on what somebody else does. And if you make your happiness and your peace dependent on what somebody else does, listen to me now, if you make your happiness and your peace dependent on what somebody else says or does, then you have a plan for happiness that is going to fail, according to A Course in Miracles. And we know that's true. But guess what? Are you going to walk out of here today and still use that plan? Yes. How would you know when you're using the wrong plan? By how you feel. So people go, well, I'm not going to do that. Then 5 minutes later, they're mad because the person didn't call them back when they said they were going to call them back. That's you saying, if that person was different, then I'd be happy. So the Course is trying to get us to see that if you're going to develop trust, there's one thing you're going to go through first. You're going to go through what is called a period of undoing. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be straight up with you. The undoing of your old way of looking at things, guess what? It doesn't have to be painful, but guess what? It usually is. Okay, it doesn't have to, changing and getting to peace of mind doesn't have to be painful, but it's usually experienced as painful. So why is it painful to start to develop trust? Well, the Course says, it seems as if things are being taken away. But when you start to undo your old way of looking at things that's not really bringing you peace that you learned, it seems as if things are being taken away. It's rarely understood initially. What is it that's rarely understood initially? That the lack of value of your old way of thinking and seeing things has to be recognized. So what does that mean? You have got to see clearly how the way that you look at things and the way that you do things and the way that you learn is not valuable. Because remember, the course is talking about what we see is based on what we learn. So you've got to be willing to let go of what you've learned in order to learn how to trust in God. If you learn to fear higher power, if you learn there is no higher power, if you learn that you are guilty in some way, that you are not enough, and then you base everything you do on that because you're insecure and you don't love yourself, so you're looking for somebody to give you the value that you lack, you learn not to value yourself. So to develop trust, if you're going to go through an undoing, it's going to look like things are being taken away from you. And how can you see that it has no value unless you're in a position where you must see things in a different way? So the Course in Miracles is going to do what? It's going to give you another way of looking at things. Are you going to necessarily agree with it? Well, if the amount of disagreement is in proportion to how miserable you are. What do you mean by that, Earl? The further a person is away from the truth, the more they get offended by it when you give it to them. So if you really are deep in fear and conflict and anger and hurt, and then someone says to you, you're the one that's the cause of the way that you're feeling right now, the average person is going to get PO'd really, really quick. Because they are so far away from believing that they're responsible for how they're seeing things, that for you to tell them they're responsible for what they're feeling is usually going to make them mad. So never walk up to a person that's in misery and go, well, you know you created that. And how did you create that? They don't want to hear that. They want love and compassion. They don't want you to go, you created that. You just think it. Minds will join. Their mind will get it. Just think it. See, the further you get along on the truth path, the more you will solve things silently that you used to try to solve verbally. That's one of the ways you can tell when a person is advanced on their spiritual path. A person that's advanced on their spiritual path doesn't even engage your ego. They don't even want to talk to your ego. They don't want to talk to you that's programmed by the world, the part of you that believes you're not enough and that you're afraid and angry and got grievances. You don't even want to talk to that person, that part of that person. So you realize there's another part of that person that's loving and sane and spiritual. All of us have that part. So you start to communicate with that part of that person. And what will happen is, in many cases, if I've seen it countless times, is that situation will usually get resolved without you having to say anything to their personality self. And that's easier. Why do you think God doesn't seem to talk to you? Because the Spirit wouldn't be talking to you. Spirit would be talking to your program. You know what I'm saying? You're not really talking to people. You're really just talking to programs. People who've been programmed from the day they were born and told what they should like, what they should want, what's right, what's wrong, who they are, and what they should want. So most people are not in touch with themselves. They're only in touch with what they have learned and been programmed to want. And then people wonder, well, why am I so unhappy? Because nothing that you're doing is coming from your authentic self. You're acting out everybody else's script about what happiness and success and what your life should be like. That's why you're miserable. You're acting out somebody else's script. You know, it's great to Nike if they can convince me that unless I have a pair of their tennis shoes, I'm somehow not enough. And so then I go, well, I'm not going to be happy until I get some Nikes. Well, that was a program. I was totally and completely in my own request allowed myself to be programmed to believe that unless I had that pair of shoes, I'm not good enough. Or how ridiculous it is for people to think they have no value unless they have a certain income. That's another thing that's totally stupid. You're valuable whether or not you have ever become a millionaire. You're valuable whether you ever get a lover or you don't have to have a lover or a mate or a special relationship in order for you to be happy. That's optional. There are plenty of people who don't have special relationships who are absolutely happy. It might be a connection. I'm always happy when I'm not in one. I am. Because you know, as soon as you hook up with somebody, you all are going to come up with the scripts that you're going to come up with each other, and everything that they're supposed to do to make you happy, and what you're supposed to do to make them happy, and then y'all spending all your time judging whether or not how good a job they're doing and how good of a job you're doing. And if you was home by yourself, you wouldn't be dealing with none of that. Ain't nobody getting upset with you if you come home at 3 o'clock in the morning when you come home 2 days from now. Nobody's concerned. You want to get up in the middle of the night and watch TV, no matter what that is, you get up and do it. You don't have anybody making external demands on you to do anything when you're not special. When you're not special to people, they free you. They let you totally be, and they don't give you a hard time about it. I've never had a person who wasn't in a special relationship with me ever get upset about what I might do with my body. You don't care. You're not going to go home and like, ooh, who was Earl with last night? Why? I'm not special to you. I'm not special to you in that way. So the minute you get into specialness, you get into judgment and you get into scripts. So the Course is saying to us, well, if you're going to be a demonstrator of love, then that relationship that you're in is giving you an opportunity to practice the love with each other, practice the truth with each other, practice forgiveness with each other, practice freedom with each other, practice sanity with each other. Now, if you use your relationship that way, you got an awesome relationship that's great that you're in. But to get in a relationship that all you're doing is the other person constantly trying to get you to be other than how you are, that's crucifixion. You want to know what the crucifixion of Christ is? It's your last girlfriend. It's your last boyfriend. That was the crucifixion. You know, and I look forward to resurrections. Okay, so, don't you? All right, don't be looking at me like, you know, what? Hey, we can be sincere without having to be serious, really? Okay, thank you. Thank you. The Course in Miracles said the way we ended up in hell called the world is we had a joke we forgot to laugh at in the first place. This is a joke that we could be without love, could be without God, could be without peace. The Course says that's a big joke. You really think the creator of the universe created this world? This world was created by the part of the mind that doesn't love itself, that has to learn how to love itself. That's why so much pain and suffering in it. You think pain and suffering comes from love? No, pain and suffering comes from fear and separation. That's why this world is the way that it is. Everybody's looking out for themselves to the exclusion of caring about anybody else. That's why I love, I have been covering this part in the Course that was talking about plans. And it was talking about how a healed mind doesn't plan. That a healed mind carries out a plan that it receives through listening to wisdom greater than its own. So a conscious being is not making up their own plan for happiness. A conscious being is going, universe, spirit, I want you to give me the plan for my happiness because you created me. And how can I tell when I'm receiving the plan from the higher self? Well, the Course says, and I've been repeating this over and over again because I don't want to forget it. He says, because if you're getting the plan from God, the way you'll know is number one. What's the number one way you will know? Because I'm into practical application of the Course. I'm not interested in analyzing it in the theory and all that stuff. That's a new that's another teacher. That's not me. First of all, you will be adequate to do it right now. So it says a plan that comes from your higher power, you will be able to do it now. It won't be a plan that you'll be able to do 6 months from now. It won't be a plan that you'll be able to do 6 years from now. It'll be a plan that you could start working on and doing right now. Rule number 2, if it's a plan that comes from God, obstacles will be removed before you even get to it. So if I'm following my true plan, that is not a struggle. To follow the true plan is not a struggle. Get rid of no pain, no gain. That's another stupid statement. If you are a creator and you create according to your thinking, which is what metaphysics and New Thought teaches, right? Then if I tell myself no pain, no gain, what am I programming myself to experience? Pain. If you tell yourself things can't come easy to you, you're saying things must come hard for me. Then you're shocked when you're struggling, and you want pity and compassion when you're struggling. But you're only struggling because you're the one that decided life had to be hard, that it had to be a struggle, that nothing comes easy for you. You a creator, you believe that, and then your experience mirrors it back to you. You're welcome. Okay. Then people go, what do I do about that? What I'm sharing with you from the book. That's what you do about it. You learn another way of looking at it. Then how do I learn another way of looking at it? If you're a Course in Miracles student, you open the freaking Course in Miracles book up and you read it and you study it and you do the workbook lessons and you apply the workbook lessons and then you will have the peace of mind, if you do it, really do it, that is promising you. But it ain't going to happen from you just listening to teachers and lecturers and all that stuff. It helps. By all means, watch the videos. By all means, go to classes. But I'm telling you, you are not going to think the Course in Miracles is going to work because you heard me lecture to you today. Do not walk out the room and say, well, I went to Earl's class, but I'm still wanting to jump off the roof because of my relationship. There's a difference between listening to what Earl said from the Course and doing what Earl said from the Course. What would be an example of that? You asking Spirit for its guidance, and then you think you've heard Spirit's guidance, but it seems like it's asking you to do something you can't do right now. As soon as you're something you can't do right now, then go, I'm listening to the plan I'm making up. That's how you tell. How do I know that relationship may not be in divine order for me? Obstacles left and right. Blocks left and right. Fighting with each other left and right. But the Course says people who want to be separate, the only way that they can stay separate is through conflict and fear and anger and guilt. So it teaches that there's a part of your mind that has a vested interest in keeping you in some form of pain and upset all the time, because that's what keeps you in your separate identity. Because when you're in conflict and when you're in fear, what does it make you do? Separate. If you feel fear, you feel separate, right? So if you want to be separate, you got to keep some form of fear and conflict going in your life all the time.
That's a lot of work.
Well, what's the easiest way to keep fear and guilt and conflict going in my life all the time? Get in a relationship with someone who's not compatible with you, who is judging you, condemning you, and not giving you any appreciation. When was the last time your partner told you they felt grateful for you and they appreciated you and they see the beauty in you? How many was the last time they said they loved you? How often have you been telling them you love them? An unconscious person gets with a person so that they can feel secure. That means you're not trusting in Spirit. That means that you just want to get and manipulate and use. I'm insecure, so I need somebody with some money who's going to take care of me. That's not loving somebody, that's using somebody. And in return, they get me. Me, what do you mean? The me that's insecure, dysfunctional, doesn't know how to express love, don't trust nobody, scared. You get me.
Wow.
Course in Miracles say, you feel guilty because you think you're getting somebody who's really valuable, but you're not giving them anything in return. Right? Because if I don't think I'm valuable and I'm full of insecurity and fears, I certainly don't feel like I'm giving you a great big gift. So here you are being loving and kind and wanting to give to me. I don't know how to love you. I don't know how to trust, and I don't know how to give. So even joining with you are making me feel guilty. I went, damn, Jesus. Jesus, I call him Jesus of the Course. And when I grew up, they called him Jesus of Nazareth. The Course in Miracles, I call him Jesus of the Course in Miracles, which ain't the one I read about when I was a kid. So I'm glad. So why is it that you must see things in a different light? Because you're not yet at a point in which you can make the shift internally. So if someone says, Earl, you need to become more loving, you need to become more kind, and you need to become more forgiving, then I might not be at the point that I can do that shift internally. Don't you feel that way sometimes? I know I should be more kind and more loving, but on the inside, I can't pull it off yet, right? But then the Course says, this is what's going to happen. If you can't make the shift internally and just change your mind, like I can't say, you know what, I'm not going to attack you anymore. Next time you say something that I don't like, I'm not going to attack you because I'm going to get what I want to receive. Okay, then I could do that right now. That would be a plan for happiness, wouldn't it? Wouldn't I be adequate to do that if I wanted to? Is there anything that stops me from doing that? Right, so I know that's God's plan, is forgiveness. Because nothing that I was being asked was something I couldn't do right now if I wanted to. Y'all see what I'm saying? If it's a divine plan, it's going to always be something you can do right now because it's always going to involve you seeing things differently. Your wrong mind is going to say, it's going to call for me doing something out there on the outer to change something on the outer, then I will be happy. So in that case, this is what's going to happen. Those of you who are not ready to change on the inside right now, it's getting ready to tell us. That's why I suggest that people read the book, study. The answers are right in front of you. But you know what adults do? Adults won't do that. They think to be an adult, you have to figure everything out on your own by yourself. That's what makes you an adult. And to even begin to go listen to wisdom that you didn't think of is blasphemous. That's how adults are programmed. Not to listen to the wisdom of something. As a matter of fact, the average adult will accuse you of trying to control them. Like, I'm a cult leader if you listen to me, right? Right, rather than go, well, this guy might know a little bit more about the Course in Miracles than I do, so why don't I take advantage of that and save myself some time? Well, if you haven't developed trust, the first thing you're going to do is mistrust me. Now you're looking for all of the inner secret motivations I must have for what I'm trying to get from you. And they don't realize if you start to love yourself, the last thing you want to hook up with is a person who doesn't trust and who's suspicious and fearful. Why? So I can get your body? It's millions of bodies. This is body land. This is body world. And guess what? Basically, all the bodies have the same parts. They're just in different shapes and sizes. But that's not mine, right? Because I'm special. So to get me, that may be like everybody else's body, but it ain't mine, right? Because specialness tells you you're different. But what a conscious being is looking for, since he knows usually a body comes along with the person, is, right? All of us got the same body parts. What I'm going to be dealing with is your consciousness, your mind, your emotional state, your wisdom. That's what your goals, your thoughts. That's what I'm going to be dealing with when I get with either one of y'all. Y'all got the same body parts. Nothing special about our body parts. And the ego goes, what the hell? It's all about my body. Why you think I put so much attention on it? That's what you're working for. That's the gift I'm going to give to you if you act right. Is that too honest? Am I being too honest? Because sometimes people start out like this with me. And then about halfway to class, it was... like, they be pissed. That's how I know I'm doing it good. That's how I know I'm doing it good. Oh my God, spiritual teachers don't say pissed. Okay, all right. So what's going to happen if you can't change on the inside? What does it say in the next sentence? So the plan will sometimes call for changes in what? What seems to be your external circumstances. So Spirit is telling you, if you don't change on the inside, you're going to have a lot of outer stuff happen to you that's going to make you change. You know what I'm saying? If you're on a job that's not the best job for you, that really fulfills you, and you really deserve better than that, but you won't change on the inside so you can see that job differently and feel okay about it, you're probably going to have that job change. Whether you get laid off, whether you quit, whether you get fired. Because you need to make a shift. You're refusing to make the shift. So circumstances are going to happen that's going to get you to make the shift. Is everybody with me on that? Okay, then it says, how should you look at these changes? Well, the Course says the way that you look at these changes is what? To say these changes are always helpful. What? whatever change you're going through in your life right now, whatever's happening on the outer right now, like I've had a complete change in my classes since COVID. I've had changes in my relationships, my friendships, you name it, I have experienced it in the last 3 years. Now, I can either look at it like, oh, woe is me. Can I get them back? Can I get somebody back? Can I get those friends back? Can I get what was happening before COVID back? That's what I would do if I didn't have any faith in God, right? But the truth is, how I feel about that could be an internal shift. I could go, everything is for my own best interest. Everything that's happened to me is for my own best interest. How many people are here today is for my own best interest. How many people online today is my own best interest. What friends left my life and what friends came into my life is for my own best interest. Okay, that's an internal shift. So that doesn't mean I have to stop doing the class. Doesn't mean I have to stop being where I live. It doesn't have to mean I have to change anything. I made an internal shift. Okay, but if I wasn't willing to make an internal shift, then I'm going to have more external shifts that will make, for instance, let's say the church would change or something would happen that I'd have to move and leave Denver. One way or another, you're going to end up happy. If you won't change on the inside to make yourself happy, then you're going to have changes on the outside that's going to make you happy eventually, but you might not feel happy about it happening when it's happening because you don't have faith enough yet to realize there's nothing happening that's not for your own best interest. You follow? Are y'all with me? See what I'm saying? If I won't change on the inside, then if I need to be out of that relationship, but I'm sticking in it, then don't be surprised if it seems to get worse. Because now you're setting it up where something has to change on the outside to get you to change because you're sitting up there trying to figure out how you can change that person or change that situation or change that circumstance. I'm trying to figure out how I can make more money more than I'm trying to figure out how to get my connection with God to be so strong and my faith to be so strong that I know I'm going to be taken care of no matter what. So I'll have these challenging financial situations to finally get me to the point that I start looking within in order for me to know my security comes from within. So if things seem like they're getting progressively worse for you in some area of your life, it's because you're ignoring the internal shift and the messages that you're getting from Spirit. And that's why it just gets more and more intense because you're not paying attention to the guidance that you're getting. You're welcome. So it's like, I'm going to give you one answer from the course after another about how to get out of the situations you're in. But I warn you, don't listen to my classes if you want to still continue to have excuses. Don't read any truth books if you want to continue to feel like you're a victim. And that's pretty much what happens. And I have compassion for you because I have a part of me that's the same way. Don't think for a second that there's not a part of me that doesn't do the same thing. That's why I'm teaching. So any teacher you see anywhere, do not assume they've mastered what they're teaching you. They're teaching it because they need to master it. And we'll go, well, that means that, Mary Ann must really have her stuff together completely. No, Mary Ann Williamson is just like the rest of us. She's learning her lessons through what she's teaching and what she's putting out there. And that's true of any teacher. They're always teaching what they need to learn. So I know that everything I've said to you is for me as much as it is for you, if not more. Thank you, God, for teaching me this way, because I'm never absent from my classes. Well, a couple of times. I was there, but that was because of the night before. But I won't get into that. That's none of y'all's business. I was channeling. All right. Changes are always helpful. When you have learned that much, when you've learned what? Changes are always helpful. When you learn that changes are always helpful, what happens? You go on to the second stage. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I'm going to do a quick recap, but I'm going to continue from here next week until I go through this, because that's where I'm at right now. Those of you who are Course in Miracles students or want to be Course in Miracles students, and you would like to be able to learn with a teacher that can help it become not so daunting and show you how to read it easier, tune in to my classes. People who want to change instead of complain only, then I'm here for you to help you any way that I can. You are not so special that you have a problem that God cannot solve. I'm sorry. That's sort of like going, if you were to pretend like God was a person, which God isn't, and you got your issue, could you picture the higher power going, oh my God, Earl, I don't know what I can do about Earl's problem. And you really think you're that special, that the infinite spirit of the universe, the infinite intelligence of the universe, the highest, greatest power there is, could not have a solution to your issue? That's too friggin' special. Or when people tell me they can't ever find someone, you're that special that out of billions of people on the face of the earth, nobody could like you. Nobody could be okay with you. Don't you see how special that is? Would you be willing to say, right now I don't want a relationship? That's why it's not happening. I do not want it to happen. Now you're telling the truth about it. And it'll come to you faster now. Because as long as you think you're a victim, then you're giving yourself the lesson of, I got to learn how I'm the cause of it. Rather than going ahead to the next level, which is the fulfillment of your dream. First, the spirit's got to stop. Rather than allow you to receive the gift of joy and happiness that you want, it's got to educate you that you are not a victim of it because you're a powerful, unlimited spiritual being. And that's okay. Spirit has infinite, patience. One of my favorite lines in the Course in Miracles is, infinite patience produces immediate effects. The more patient you are, the faster it shows up. The more impatient you are, the longer it takes to get to you. That's a universal law. Because your impatience is a lack of faith. And since you have a lack of faith, it looks like it's not happening. If you're patient, it's because you believe it's going to show up. That's why you're patient. So it can come because you're patient about it. But if those things you're all up in the air about and anxious about and wondering if it's going to happen, that's a lack of faith. So that's not going to produce immediate effects. So people ask, well, how do I get to that state of mind? This is how you do it. You get to the point where you're going to feel peace whether you have it or not. That's how you do everything. I want you, but I'm going to have peace whether I have you or not. I like to have that job. It's my preference, but I'm going to give myself peace whether I have it or not. I'd like to make X amount of dollars a year, but you know what? I'm going to give myself peace whether it happens or not. It was funny. I made some ego business decisions at one time in my past. They put me in a lot of personal debt. That debt did not go and get handled until I decided I was going to have peace whether my credit score went down or not. That I was going to have peace whether I could pay that bill every month or not. As soon as I made that decision that I was going to give myself peace regardless of that, that's when things started to work out that resolved all those issues. It wasn't because I was praying every night to come up with the money to pay the bill. I was every day praying that I'd be able to look at it in such a way that I keep my peace no matter what's happening. That's what got the bill paid. Because if I think the bill getting paid is what's going to make me happy, that's still what? Me telling myself if something outside myself were different, I would be happy. And that's reinforcing the idea that my happiness depends on what is happening outside myself or with another person. So every time I catch myself, like sometimes when you feel lonely or you feel bored, and then the first thing you do is try to think of somebody to visit or call or go see because you feel like if you could have that experience, then you'd be happy, right? So I admit that to myself, and I'll pick up the phone and call somebody if I think I need to go see them. But I'm always reminding myself that what my optimum state of mind is, I would be happy if I hadn't been able to reach anybody to spend any time with anybody. So I try to come up with as many things as I can do by myself that I feel comfortable with as I can possibly do that doesn't depend on anybody else's cooperation, coordination, and all the other stuff that you go through in most cases to do something with somebody. Okay, so then I got the Earl Purdy stuff that don't depend on nobody but Earl Purdy. And I have beautiful people in my life that I feel joy if I get a chance to spend time with them. But I can't make my happiness dependent on them. Because when you don't make your happiness dependent on them, if they can't be with you, then you're okay. You're not holding a grievance. You don't have a script that you're mad at them about because you weren't holding them responsible for your happiness that evening anyway. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have nothing to lose at this point. I appreciate y'all coming here so much, and I appreciate the thousands of people that's online that check out my classes over a month's time. It always amazes me because the response that I get is so gratifying to feel like you're really being of service to some people. And what's really cool is when people write me and they say, you know what? There's something about the way you do it. I can really hear it. I've listened to other people that do the course, and they were great, but for whatever reason, your style works for me, right? That's the way it is with you. There are people who would love you exactly the way you are, and your style, and your personality, and your values. Everything about you is exactly what they want. It's exactly what they're asking for. So those who would like to make a financial expression of appreciation online, you can use Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, or the Cash App. Or go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com, not earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. That's my email address. Thank you so much. Thank you in advance. Thank you for it in advance. Those of you who would like to work with me on a one-on-one, which I've been doing 40 years, I will show you exactly from A Course in Miracles and New Thought, and from working with people for years, exactly how to look at and approach whatever it is you think you're going through right now that's keeping you from being happy. All right? If you're willing to want to be happy more than you want to be right, because I don't counsel with people and battle with them. Okay, that is not the way I counsel. If you coming at me in full force, ready to battle everything that comes out of my mouth, you know what you're going to hear me say? I'm not the right one you're supposed to be working with. And let's pray together for you to attract the person, because it ain't about the money. It's more about my peace. Now, there was a time in my life that money would have mattered more. I don't care how big of a hell you ought to deal with. You know, when you think that you're not going to be provided for by the universe, then you allow yourself to be inauthentic because you're afraid of losing somebody. So you won't be real. I'm so grateful to people who share with me, but all the things I receive ultimately come from God through people. So would you be willing to tell yourself, what's not happening in my life is what I do not want to happen in my life? What is happening in my life is for some reason what I am asking for. So at least I can decide I don't like the way I feel. So I hope I'm wrong. I don't like the way I feel. I hope I'm wrong. So I need another way to look at this. Perhaps there is another way to look at this. What can I lose by asking? See, the Course tells you exactly what to say to yourself. You're miserable, you're upset, go, I'll say it again. At least I can decide, I don't like what I'm feeling with you right now. And so I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. So what do I want? I want another way to look at this. Then you go, what? Perhaps there is another way to look at this. And then you go, what can I lose by asking? And then people go, okay, I asked for another way to look at it, Earl. But what is that other way to look at it? The entire teachings of A Course in Miracles. That book is full of alternative ways of looking. Haven't I been giving you alternative ways of looking at things right out the books as you've been talking to me? Right. So when you say I want another way of looking at something, the Spirit isn't telling you to make up that way of looking at something based on your wisdom, which is what I used to think it would mean. Now, if something said to me, I want another way of looking at it, then I would go, okay, what's the other way for me to look at it, right? And then there's the book right here. Okay, right now I must not be making an internal shift. Right now I must be making my happiness dependent on this other person changing or this situation changing. If I don't change on the inside, I know I'm going to start to have external changes happening in my life. So that means whatever external changes are happening in my life right now, that's in order for me to make that internal shift through an external circumstance so that I can finally have the right perception that will give me happiness in every situation that I'm in. So either you're internally changing without your external changing, because you're voluntarily being willing to look at it another way, or you can be stubborn and go, well, I'm not going to do the work. I'm not going to look within. I'm not going to work on myself spiritually. I'm just going to wait for everybody else to serve me and do it the way I wanted to do. But then you're ordering up what? Constant external stuff coming down to get you to look inside yourself. Now, could you imagine being in a relationship with somebody who is as much wanting to have an internal shift and get rid of their blocks and fears as you do, and then you both use your relationship as opportunities to let go of your dysfunctions and blocks instead of battling each other? I like to use the analogy a lot of times because pictures can work better than words. I like to use the analogy of being in a relationship that is not a relationship that's the right one for you. It's like trying to move a sofa, and instead of the other person helping you move the sofa, they sit on it when you're trying to move it. That's what it's like being in a relationship with the wrong person. It delays you. Some people want to get laid instead of being delayed. And sometimes they're totally synonymous. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you. Remember, everybody's got a body and body parts. Everybody's got a body and body parts. Everybody has bodies and body parts. It's not about the body parts. It's not about the body parts. The body parts will usually be available if the connection is right. Right? So I'm not anti-enjoying your physical form. What I'm saying is, in the end, you're going to be dealing with the consciousness and the mind and the values of that person. That's what's important. That's what's important. And then if you have that heart connection and that mind connection, then whatever happens at the physical level is going to be perfect. When you're really into somebody, being in their presence is just as satisfying as anything you would do with them physically. They could rub up against your elbow. They could touch a strand of your hair. And because of the way you see them, because of the way you feel in their presence, because of the safety and appreciation that you have. But if you feel like somebody just seeing you as a body, you know and I know that that's not going to do it. And if it does do it, it only does it for a little while. You know, if you got access to the same body for years and years and years and months and months and months, you're going to have to go to the level that you all are growing some way mentally and spiritually in order to keep any kind of life in that relationship. Ain't nothing about your stuff that good that is going to last for years without any kind of growth in your consciousness and in your love. So I teach like I'm teaching to adults. I'm sorry. If I say something and it offends you, do not watch my classes. I'm not going to change. Yeah, but welcome to growth. That's one of the biggest challenges that's happening in the world right now, is everybody is expecting everybody else to change so that they don't get offended in any kind of way. That's the dumbest approach to having any kind of centeredness you can you really think you're going to get everybody not to offend you by changing everything they do, that they don't even know they need to change. I don't even know what's offending you. But I'm watching the ego do that in the world right now, where everybody's walking on tiptoes because you just might say something that offends them. How in the world are you going to be able to ever communicate, trying to communicate in such a way that nothing you say may be taken the wrong way? Nobody has that kind of power over other people, right? So I believe that there are enough people in the world that Spirit would send to me to be my friend, to be my lover if I wanted that, to be my teacher if I wanted that. Spirit knows who would love Earl the way Earl is. Spirit is in touch with everybody in the world. I'm not. And if I go by my track record of me being the one that chooses, then I thank God. Because my chooser is broken sometimes. You ever had a broken chooser? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Right. So the Course says the prayer that would be the best prayer that anybody could make would be, Spirit, I want what you want for me in just the form you want it in for me. God, I want you to give me what you want me to have in just the way you want me to have it. I'd like to have a relationship. That's an extra thing. Well, you give me the relationship that's you want me to have because you're the part of me that loves me. You're the part of me that loves me. You're the part of me that really appreciates me. That's what Spirit is, a part of you. Ask the part of you that really loves you to be in charge of your finances, to be in charge of your job, to be in charge of your spiritual awareness, which won't mean anything to anybody that doesn't believe in a higher power. I understand that. That those who have not established that connection what I'm saying about letting spirit be in charge is falling flat right now. But are you a person who would like to get past that block, though, and you really would like to start to tune into your higher self? Then I'm your person. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should have mastered any of the things I'm talking about today. Just be willing to go in a new direction. Just be willing to go, there must be a better way. I don't have to be right about everything. I don't know everything, so I'm open to being taught, and I'll say I don't know. And he says, the minute you say you don't know, the universe will rush to your assistance. But if you walk around going, I already know that. I know that. Well, he said, well, the truth says, that's you telling the universe, don't help me. Every time you say, I know, you're telling spirit, don't help me. I know, I'll handle it. Whew. So, Sundays at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, you can attend in person at 1555 Race Street if you're in Denver, 1555 Race Street. It's also online, Facebook Live, the Earl Purdy page. On Facebook Live, the Earl Purdy page. Also, on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I do another online Course in Miracles class. And I call it Hardcore Course in Miracles because it's even more aimed at people who are studying and focusing in on the truth. That's not saying that you shouldn't watch it if you're not focused in on the course. I'm just saying I'm willing to go a little bit extra for those who are. There's a line in the course where Jesus of the course says, you don't have to believe in me in order to benefit from this, but I can help you a little bit more if you did, right? I could help you out a little bit more if you believed in me. You could be helped without believing in me, but if you believe that I could be helpful to you, I could help you a little bit more. And that's what Jesus of the Course in Miracles is saying. Well, you don't have to believe in me. It's okay. But if you did, probably could help you out a little bit more. And that's where I am. If at some level you allow yourself to trust and be open and not look at me like I'm an enemy that's trying to get something from you, I could probably be more helpful to you. And that's true with your friends. The same thing. If they trusted you more and they were more open to you and they believed that you meant them well, you could help them more, right? So nothing I'm saying is way out there. So Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Hardcore Course in Miracles. I upload all my classes on YouTube, and also they're on Facebook, and they're also on my website. All right, and I'm also an astrologer and a numerologist for those who are open to receiving guidance and information in another way. Because the Course teaches that there are, wherever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, whatever you do, whatever you believe, whatever your gift is right now, Spirit can use it to help wake you up and heal you. So whatever your personal hobbies are, whatever your personal beliefs are, whatever it is you like to do, it can be used as a method of healing and opening up. So you don't have to make a radical shift of everything in your life. You don't have to quit your job unless there's something you really feel spiritually led to do. Wherever you are right now, the Course teaches that Spirit can use you from that place right now. So whatever you're into could be used for the good of everybody. And that's the other quality of if it's a divine plan. What did I say? You'd be adequate to do it. You wouldn't have a lot of obstacles impeding your progress. Then he says your joy will be increasing more and more and more. And it will always be that whatever it is that's the plan for you that would make you happy, guess what? It would benefit everyone in some way. So unless it passed those basic tests, it's just something you're coming up with on your own. It's just your own self-initiated plan. But guess what's cool about that? Whatever you do, even if it's something that could be what appears to be a mistake, says Spirit will also take you from there. If you ask and write from that place that you have in a challenge because you come up with your own plan again that didn't work, Spirit would be able to heal you. It's like with your GPS. You make a wrong turn, it doesn't send you, in most cases, it doesn't send you all the way back to where you made the mistake. If it's possible, it always directs you from where you are. And so GPS to me means God's positioning system. So you got to check in with your own personal GPS. That's it. That's how you do it. Did you hear that, Earl Purdy? Did you hear that, Earl Purdy? Did you hear that, Earl Purdy? You know that was for you, Earl Purdy. You know you're the one that needs to learn how to do that, Earl Purdy. You know that you're the one that needs to develop trust, Earl Purdy. You know you're the one that needs this is first and primarily for you, Earl Purdy, and whoever's listening to it. It's no accident you're here. It's no accident anybody who's watching the video. There is no such thing as an accident, so you're not with that person by accident. You're not in that job by accident. There's nothing about your life that's by accident. Everything was part of the lesson that you are supposed to be learning. It doesn't have to be a painful lesson, like I said, but you usually experience it that way because it looks like something is being taken away, which is what? Your old way of looking at things that doesn't work. It's going to look like it's being taken away. Your old programming is going to seem like it's being taken away. So if you want to have a one-on-one session with me, go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, and you can get all the details about the session. They're not free. Everything I do is free. I got hundreds and thousands of classes on YouTube and everything else that's free. My counseling sessions aren't. Because first of all, it's not just the money. I want to know the person is investing and they feel like what they're getting is valuable. You pay $200 for a Bronco ticket and want me to do a session for $5. I ain't doing it. You got to claim the value and see value in what you do. And then you make it available for people if they don't have the money. And I do both of those. That's what you must do. You're valuable. What you have to offer is valuable. No one's going to treat you like it's valuable if you don't treat yourself like it's valuable. And that's the truth. And I'm valuable. And you're valuable. And I'm going to treat myself like I'm valuable. And I'm going to treat you like you're valuable. And people who don't like it, well, it's a call for love. You just a call for love. You innocent. You so innocent. What? You just the most innocent thing in the world. Because I'm going to give what I want to receive. Right? Yeah. So I love y'all, and I love y'all, and then if I don't love you, I want to. Those are my two states of mind. I either love y'all or I sure want to. So, mighty companions, if I forgot something I should have said, it was for your own best interest. Sometimes I go, I meant to say this. Okay. Listen to this, watch this at least 4 times. And guess what? May the course be with you. Let's acknowledge us for being cool, for being valuable. Yeah, let's give it up to us. I love y'all. You all are just awesome. Hey, bye.